chapter 35, section 2. So Napoleon's been defeated, so what now? Well, people want peace in Europe. There's been a lot of years of war happening here. And so you're going to have the meeting of the Congress of Vienna. This is going to be nicknamed the Waltzing Congress because they spent most of their time having fancy dinners and holding dances and going on fox hunts rather than really solving a lot of the problems. You're going to have the major leaders in attendance being Prince Clemens von Metternich. He was Austria's foreign minister. You had Tsar Alexander I from Russia. You had King Frederick William III from Prussia. And you had Viscount Castlereagh, the British Foreign Secretary. The French representative is going to be Charles Maurice de Talleyrand. Now, they've got some hard decisions to make here at the Congress of Vienna. They don't want to punish France too harshly because they want peace and stability. But there has to be a balance of power as well. You need kind of a equal strength amongst countries. You know, they wanted to stop any country from getting too much power and starting a war. So what they agreed to do is they're going to divide up the Grand Empire. And Russia will gain Finland and most of Poland. Sweden up there gets Norway. Austria got parts of northern Italy. Great Britain gets the islands of Malta and Ceylon, plus the Dutch Cape Colony down in South Africa, which you can't see on the map. Belgium and Holland are made into a single nation. And there's going to be 39 German states that are combined into a loose confederation headed up by Austria. The leaders were against democracy. They wanted to bring back this divine right monarchy again. You know, since democracy idea has been around, there's been a lot of war happening in Europe there. They want to bring this back. They want to end these revolutionary ideas. And Louis XVIII will be put on France's throne. And down in Spain and Portugal, the monarchy will be restored there. You know, the papal states will be ruled by the Pope again. But the revolutionary ideas don't just go away. This balance of power that they wanted to make, it only lasted a few years. Because you see, the Congress system, it had some opponents. Take a look at some of them. You got on one hand, you got the liberals. The liberals wanted political reform based on ideas from the French Revolution. Individual freedoms, equal rights under the law, freedom of thought, freedom of religion. You know, they wanted reforms based on the French Revolution ideals. They fought for it once. They want it again. It's mostly going to be, these liberals are mostly going to be middle class. They wanted to improve their own lives. You know, they wanted voting rights for landowners. They wanted protection of private property. Okay. Some even wanted a constitutional monarch. Okay, which would be a king or queen, but they're guided by a constitution. Some wanted a republic. And so your strongest liberals are going to end up being in Great Britain and France. On the other hand, you had some people that were nationalists. They wanted political independence for those in areas sharing the same customs or language or history. When the Congress divided up the Grand Empire, they basically ignored the nationalist ideas. Belgium, for example, they didn't want to be a part of Holland. Belgium and Holland were different people, different places. Northern Italians, they didn't want to be ruled by Austria. They weren't Austrian, they were Italian. And then the third big group against the Congress system were the socialists. The socialists wanted to end private ownership of land and factories. They think the state or the people, they think they should own all means of production. Factory, why should one guy own the factory or the land when all the work's being done by everybody else? Why wouldn't everybody else control it? And they wanted all workers to be treated fair and workers' lives to improve. Some even try to set up like these ideal communities based on economic cooperation. These ideas of these utopian socialists, and they'll set up their own little community where everybody worked together and shared and nobody was greedy or wanted stuff for their own. Some socialists, they wanted revolution to bring about reform, which brings you to Karl Marx. Karl Marx was a German. He was a proletariat. The proletariat was the industrial working class. Okay. Karl Marx, he wanted workers to unite. The proletariat's got nothing to lose but their chains, he said. And he wrote a book, The Communist Manifesto. And basically in this, he talked about how after this revolution, there would be no more hunger or poverty. Everybody will be equal. You don't even need a government. People will willingly work to make things better. Marx's version was called communism. And he believed his Communist Party was the one going to lead this next revolution.